Hello, welcome to another session in our teaching series, Hidden Facts in Biology. We are still on the respiratory system. Now we'll be talking about the mechanism of respiration in different organisms. First of all, we'll be taking that of the insects. The insect breathes by means of a structure known as the trachea. These are system or branched tubes which extend to the internal organs and the tissues of the body of this organism. The trachea open to the outside through structures known as spiracles, which are segmentally arranged, one on each side of the body. The way an insect breathes is such that it contracts and relaxes the abdominal muscle. So we are going to be talking about what happens when the abdominal muscles contract and what happens when the abdominal muscle relax. When it contracts, the abdominal cavity decreases in a dorsal ventral direction and the pressure in it increases. When we say dorsal ventral, we mean from back forward. This forces air out of the tracheal system through the spiracles, and when the abdominal muscles relax, the abdomen turns to its normal volume and pressure in it decreases. The effect of this is that this causes air to move through the spiracles into the trachea. The next thing we're going to be talking about is the mechanism of respiration in fish. We take the tilapia fish as a reference or as an example. The tilapia is an example of a bony fish that uses gills for gaseous exchange. When the gill covers are closed, the mouth is opened and the floor of the mouth is lowered. This causes water to rush into the mouth. The gill covers are also known as the operculum. In plural form, it is known as the opercula. When the mouth is closed, the gill covers and the floor of the mouth is raised. Water then flows out through the gill opening, bathing the gill filament. And as water flow over the gill filament, there is gaseous exchange. Oxygen dissolved in the water diffuse into the blood of the capillaries in the gill filament, while CO2 diffuses from the blood into the water. This is the mechanism of respiration in fish. Now we are going to be looking at the mechanism of respiration in toad. In the tadpole stage, the respiratory organ of the toad is the gill, and they carry out gaseous exchange in a manner similar to that of the fish, while the adult toad or frog uses three respiratory mechanisms, and these mechanisms include through the skin, through the mouth or buccal cavity, and through the lungs. We'll be taking each of them. First of all, let's take gaseous exchange in toad through the skin. This is also known as the cutaneous respiration. The skin of the toad is usually kept moist by a mucus, and this mucus are secreted by some glands located in the skin. And in the skin also, there are many blood capillaries present. Oxygen in the air will dissolve in the moisture on the skin, and then from there it diffuses into the blood capillaries that are present in the skin. Carbon dioxide, that is CO2, diffuses from the blood in the blood capillaries through the moisture on the skin into the air. This method of breathing is used when the toad is in water or in land, especially when the skin is moist. Now we are going to be taking gaseous exchange through the mouth, also known as the buccal cavity. The process involved in this is that the toad lowers the floor of its mouth and opens the nostrils. Air is drawn into the large mouth cavity through the nostril. The surface of the mouth cavity is moist, and mucous membrane lining the mouth is supplied with numerous blood capillaries. Gaseous exchange takes place between the air in the mouth and the blood in the capillaries. The toad raises the floor of the mouth, and the air in the mouth goes out through the nostrils. This method of breathing is used on land. Now we are going to be looking at the gaseous exchange through the lungs. How does the toad carry out gaseous exchange through its lungs? First of all, the toad closes the glottis, opens the nostrils, and lowers the floor of its mouth. Air enters through the nostrils into the mouth. Thereafter, the toad closes the nostrils and opens the glottis and raises the floor of the mouth. Air then passes into the lungs. Oxygen dissolves in the moist lining of the lungs and then diffuses into the blood capillaries in the lungs. Carbon dioxide or carbon dioxide in the same vein diffuses from the blood into the lungs, and the reverse of this process will lead to breathing out. So this is all about the mechanism of respiration in the organisms we have discussed so far. So now we have come to the end of the teaching, and as usual we are going to be taking some questions. We start with the examples. The first one says, which of the following structure is associated with respiration in insects? Then the option given include A. Air sac, B. Spiracle, C. Lung, D. Alveolus, and E. Gill. The answer to this question is B. The spiracle. The insects use spiracle for gaseous exchange. The next question, it says, which part of the gill of fish is involved in gaseous exchange? A. Gill slits, B. Gill bars, C. Gill covers, D. Gill filament. The answer to this question is D. The gill filament, because gaseous exchange take place in the gill filament of the gill of fish. It's important for you to know the other parts of the gills. Each gill of a fish consists of a gill filament, and like we said, gaseous exchange takes place. We also have the gill raker, which helps to store food particles from entering the gill chamber, and the gill arc, on which the gill filaments are built. The gill chamber is closed externally by the gill cover, which is known as the operculum. So now we are going to be going to our next question, and it says, fish cannot survive on land because it has A. body covered with scales, B. a streamlined body, C. no lungs, D. no working appendages. The answer to this question is C, and this is because the fish do not have lungs, and such they cannot survive on land. Organisms that survive on land are those organisms that have lungs. So our next question, which of the following organs are used for gaseous exchange in mature toad? A. Gills, lungs, and eardrum. B. Lungs, mouth, and eardrum. C. Mouth, skin, and gills. And D. Skin, lungs, and mouth. In the course of our teaching, we discuss the mechanism of respiration in toad, and we made mention of the fact that the tadpole stage of this organism uses the gill as the means of respiration. Why? For the adult toad, it uses three mechanisms, which includes the skin, the mouth or buccal cavity, and the lungs. And based on this fact, our answer will be D. Skin, lungs, and mouth. So our next question. Our next question says, a grasshopper respires by means of its A. book lungs, B. tracheal tubes, C. antenna, and D. lungs. The answer to this question is B, and this is because grasshopper respire by means of tracheal tube. So our next question, it says, Respiration in amoeba is through the A. Contractile vacuum by the process of diffusion. B. Food vacuum by cyclosis. C. Exchange of gases between its vascular system and the cytoplasm. D. Body surface by the process of diffusion. E. Nucleus and the environment. The answer to this question is D, and this is because amoeba respires through its body surface by the process of diffusion. It is able to do this because it has the larger surface area to volume ratio. We have come to the end of the examples, and now we'll be taking some exercise. This exercise you can see here is being taken from our textbook Hidden Facts in Biology in pages 162. The answers are also present in the answer section of the book, both in hard copy and soft copy. Thank you for listening.